Hello everyone, thank you for coming back. Welcome back to those new, thank you for stopping by. To those supporters, thank you for supporting my channel. In this video, I like to share with you how uh, to have a proposed house on the slope. This is a hypothetical. Suppose this is a slope, sharp, steep hill by the coast, and the simple solution to suppose to have a house with such site is what I've seen in the past numbers of my previous client asking how to have such house like this in such kind of type of landscape with such a steep contour with the beautiful views toward the ocean views basically. And over the years I've seen numbers of people who then abandon such site. In fact, it's such a beautiful site. So I'm using this hypothetical landscape, which is such contour with slope and sharp. So I then give this kind of diagrammatic way of proposing house or villa, if you like, in such harsh conditions with such a rather complex landscape. But at the same time, I know this drawing is not for. I know many people who are aware of such solution, how to build homes or erect your building structures on such landscape. And how I would do is as shown in this drawing with such landscape. Instead of digging them, making them flat, which I've seen over the years, numbers of people decided to, with such landscape, they will employ excavator to flat the landscape, excavate them to make them flat and easy access. But the disadvantage of that is having cost so much money to pay for excavators, and at the same time we ruin the natural beauty of the landscape. But instead, I would suggest is, as I'm drawing now, keep the existing landscape as it is, but having a minimal excavation on the site just for the foundation footing. And using the natural beauty of the landscape, just place your building structure on it as showing here. It's rather beautiful and cost effective without destroying or causing too much of the detrimental effect on the existing environments. So this is the point of this drawing. And of course, at the same time, I'm using line drawings for this exercise, and as well as rendering. And in this exercise, I'm using a much thicker nib on my pen. So of course the next ones, and instead of just drawing diagrammatic drawing, volumetric of this, suppose this modular flat roof structure, I then put a bit of a perspective pointing to give this kind of three-dimensional shape rather than just a flat shape of the building. Now you may ask, why flat roof, why boxes? It's simple. In the olden days, why there were gable roof such for the buildings, because of the what material that were available at the time based on the engineering or builders consideration in term of structure. Then we built building out of, if it was timber, has to be gable roof to create this kind of trusses. and to have a strong structure as opposed to having a flat roof, which would not be durable using the materials such as wood or bricks or stone at a time. Now, when it comes to stone or bricks, they were using shell made out of like arches or pointy arches for the Gothic, or just round shaped arch like the Byzantine architecture. And of course, you get that kind of roof shape. Now, why flat roof? In the modern days, since we have the available material such as steel, metal, that are much more strong both in compression and what is the other one? Tense. Steel much more versatile, at the same time much more lightweight. Therefore, the modern building these days are using this advantage of the material available. So we are using flat roof, and of course, it's a flat roof. We have such a, maybe we can say having flat roof maybe could be leaking during the heavy rains, but again, we have much more advantage modern material that we have, such as waterproof membranes or waterproof sheet that you can cover the flat roof, so stop building from leaking. So that's why flat roof. At the same time, many would say flat roof seem to be much more slick and modern, to accentuate the term modern, and also much more simple in terms of construction. So here it is. This is how I would propose a villa or private home in such landscape with steep contour. And just to exaggerate a little bit more, such site would be places like limestones, sharp limestone over the coast, and using a small thin columns to support right with a minimal excavation deep to the ground for the concrete footing, so this building can sustain itself on the column that is rest on the column that is also connected to the concrete footing that is excavated into the ground. So this will avoid the need of major excavation on the site. At the same time, it maintains the natural beauty of the landscape. And of course, this is not based on site specific, but more of a site, more kind of generic, which could apply to any kind of site specific, which is many of the could be by the coast or could be on the hill, on the slope. And when the building itself has a flat roof, you don't need to have a flat roof. You can change whatever you like, but in theory, for this, the purpose of this proposal, hypothetical drawing is to suggest another simple solution. Suppose those who has spare home or extra cash to spend the money on private home or villa in such site, you can do this. So you don't have to search for a perfect site. You can build your home anywhere. For me, if I had this opportunity, I would do exactly like this, with minimal. In fact, it's much way beautiful site, and also it's not easy for anyone just walk into it. And I give it about adventurous to have such house like this in such landscape. I know many of you out there might have said this is not something new, this is not something that we never seen before. I understand because this is not something that new. It's not that I discovered this at all. I've seen many countries that have this kind of landscape, but again, this drawing is targeting those who are familiar with such landscape, such building structure, just to help out those who are unfamiliar with it, with the drawing technique, with the simplest possible to explain, and much more simple way of architecture solution in such landscape. So of course, to those who are familiar with it, put that aside. Maybe you can have a more knowledge that you can enlighten me with, and so we can share in here. And also for those who are unfamiliar, and hope you understand, and at the same time using drawing to share the knowledge. Anyhow, the next one I'm going to add much more, render this a bit of this drawing instead of just line, using the advantage of the thick nib that I have. And suppose there's a bit of a how this, you can say, container tuck into this slope. Basically just resting on the existing landscape, the existing contour, existing stone. But usually to level it up, you need to dig a bit, minimal excavation to place the foundation footing, and it's suspended maybe a few millimeters just to level it up. So without anything intervention on the landscape in terms of flattening it or level it up. So now I'm going to put much more thicker line on these buildings to give a bit of a depth, to understand a bit of the texture or material property of this building. I would say lightweight material, which is referred to with such an environment. Still, we get concrete will be too heavy. So I know if you've seen some of the ancient settlement in Italy or Greece or China even, it is always wonderful to see those ancient settlements in such a harsh landscape, in the mountains, on the hills, or views with the ocean views, or in the middle of the forest. It just I always baffled by it's not just about the credibility of the craftsmanship in terms of using material, the wonders how they did it, but also the ambition that they have, the desire. Why would they do such a thing in such a hostile environment, from being hostile environment into such a ancient wonders, and to achieve with the goal. And there must have been a precarious, sometimes I wonder might be involved numbers of death. People got to go through an extreme process to achieve such a beautiful settlement, beautiful building in such a harsh landscape as this. And you see the numbers of them still standing today, like in the ancient Greek Roman Empire, and many more that I have visited. I'm sure there are many more out there that I'm not familiar with, I'm not exposed to. Anyhow, now back to these buildings. Again, this is not a drawing about based on reality. As I said earlier, this is more of this is not a drawing exercise only, but beside drawing exercise, this is also more of a drawing exercise together with architecture informations, how to come with a solution with such a landscape. Now, to give a bit of scale in this building, I add a bit of a human scale to give a bit of proportion, to give a bit of the understanding of the scale of the space of this building in relation to the landscape. And this is very typical of how architecture works, how the architect or designers work, always thinking three-dimensionally, always creating things at the same time, always related to the proportion of human scale. Like Le Corbusier would say, architecture is about the proportion of human modular or proportion of human scale into relation to space. Just makes sense. It's very basic of understanding how human body. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again. Thank you.